Hello guys, it's me, Greed here. Today, I've got something very important to talk about. However, I need to preface that this story is told outside of chronological order, and you'll see why later. So I got a notification from the Overwatch 2 Discord server with this message talking about an Overwatch 2 Junior League. The actual details and the rule set of the Junior League aren't exactly important to what I discovered, so I'm not even going to go over them. However, once I joined that Discord server, I quickly learned that there was going to be a very big problem with the league itself. Unfortunately, all of console is the same brain-dead, boosted players stacking together for their peaks that mean nothing because they can't get the same value without their 5-man Zim or Perma Pocket. Genuinely the most miserable experience trying to climb as a solo or even a duo, especially on EU since we just get the same Arab win traders every game once it gets past 7 PM. Now, I imagine if you're a console player, you can probably sympathize with Vayne quite a lot, as you probably have a similar experience, especially in the high level, of players ruining it by cheating by using a Zim. If you're unaware, a Zim is essentially a device that lets you use a mouse and keyboard on console against controller players while maintaining aim assist. Now, Vayne has unfortunately gone through a situation where people have accused him of being a cheater and using a Zim, and as you saw from his previous complaining about Zim players, there's no way this player would be using a Zim. That would be insane and incredibly hypocritical. He uses a Zim. And not only does he use a Zim, but it's also incredibly blatant. Like, what is that? You're not moving like that on a controller. What is that? Who's believing this? Now, putting that guy's hypocrisy aside for a moment, this really does call into question the entire integrity of this league in the first place. Now, I asked the question in the questions channel about if console aim assist would be turned down because it is so overpowered, and I was met with no. Anyway, you've probably realized all of this was just build up for me to talk about this Vayne guy himself because of the amount of contradictions that were going on in his speech. In 1 second, he absolutely hates Zimmers and thinks they ruin the game, and the next second, he is openly admitting to not only being a user of one, but one that brags about being a user of one. Anyway, I went through Vayne's message logs and I found this particularly funny conversation he had where he was posting his clips in the general channel and people were reacting to them. Eventually he posts this clip, which I will show you in a second, but essentially saying, I've got a better one, hold on, talking about the clip, and then this Mystic player, who is actually very good, says, oh wait, you're zimming, and he says, it's banned now, trying to say that he couldn't be zimming because if you zim now you get thrown in the mouse and keyboard pool, but there are ways to avoid that. Mystic then goes on to say, yeah, I can see why, it looks like aimbot hack clients unless you went on aim training for 20 hours, which is already silly. But then Vayne replies, says, I've got like 300 on aim labs, meaning he's got 300 hours on aim labs. And then he replies to what Mystic says about it looking like aimbot and him saying, that's just me, I can't lie, most Zimmers are insanely shaky and rather 100% on crosshair placement and flicks. Basically, no one has good tracking. Anyway, let's actually analyze the clip itself because this is just a lot of talking about something that you haven't seen yet. Now, I can't say for sure that this is actually a Zim clip or a controller clip. The aim assist is simply so incredibly strong that it's impossible for me to tell. However, this does bring up an interesting point, which is the fact that the aim assist is so potent. How are you supposed to run a league like this where you can have one input that's got essentially aimbot on it and another input which is pure mechanical skill? How do those two inputs fight each other fairly and in an environment especially where there will be a prize pool eventually? It just kind of seems like people are going to start doing what they do on other games where they play professionally, where there are heavy aim assist things like Apex and so on, where the majority of the highest level professional players have swapped to the superior input, which is controller, simply due to the fact that most of the aiming mechanics are done for them due to the extremely powerful aim assist. Now on to the league itself. It sounds like a fantastic idea on paper, and I love stuff like this. It's a grassroots community-run tournament. It's a draft mode, so essentially speaking, you solo queue into it. You don't need to bring your own team, so if you are a solo player, you can still participate in it. Eventually, there will be a prize pool. It sounds fantastic on paper, but I can already see this situation turning very, very badly if they don't very quickly address the lack of competitive integrity that this is going to have if you allow aim assist into this pool. Now, obviously, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't disable the aim assist in a console game or in a custom game. You have to make it so that players turn it off themselves, but players obviously aren't going to do that. So you would just have to simply disallow console players from your tournament because there would be no way to police the aim assist without it. However, turning down the console players means you lose more than half of your potential people to participate, which makes it so your community is going to be smaller, the tournament is going to be smaller, and potential future prize pools are also going to be smaller. So this is quite an impasse where do you go for the route of competitive integrity, or do you let it be spoiled and ruined by the fact that aim assist exists in the first place and that people are definitely going to abuse that for any potential gains? Now, obviously, I'm on the side of purely disabling aim assist, and I would love if there was a way to do this, but there isn't, without completely disallowing console players to participate. So the only realistic way of doing it would be to hold two tournaments, a PC pool and a console pool. But that adds added stress. You need double the admins, you need double the amount of games, you need double the hosts, you need double the staff. Basically, it's already stressful enough running one tournament, let alone two, especially at the same time. So, the Junior League is a fantastic idea, like I said, but I personally don't see how it's viable when you have the need for console players to participate and also the desire to not have them participate for competitive integrity's sake. Eventually, let's say there is a world where this league got big, and you would have to eventually make the decision of, are we keeping the aim assist in the pool or not? Because once it gets so big that many people are going to start participating, it becomes more and more of a reason to want to win. And to have more of a reason to win is to have more of a reason to go to every method available to give you the biggest advantage, which means people are going to be getting hit scan players on controller or especially Zim to come into the tournament and compete on their team for the massive advantage that they gain from that cheat software, essentially. Now, honestly, I've never been a fan of aim assist in games. I understand the importance of their existence for console players. However, if you are going to be participating in a pool with mouse and keyboard players, it doesn't make any sense to have aim assist enabled for those controller players because it simply just gives people a mechanical advantage that isn't offered to the other side simply because their input is more expressive than the other. And I've always kind of had this problem, especially with games like Warzone and so on, where there is no real way to have mouse and keyboard and controller coexist in an environment like that where it's a fast-paced FPS game, and it's similar to how it is in Overwatch, and I just don't know how they're going to make it work. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. I hope you have a good day. Mwah. Goodbye. Goodbye. Mwah. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.